This is Ned Brooks inviting you to Meet the Press.
Meet the Press, America's press conference of the year and winner of every major award in its field, is a public affairs presentation of NBC News.
Our guest today on Meet the Press is the first American to orbit the Earth, Colonel John H. Glenn, Jr. He is now actively engaged in the project to land a man on the moon. We'll have the first question now from Lawrence E. Spivak, prominent member of the Meet the Press panel.
Colonel, as you know, there's a growing controversy in and out of Congress over the question whether it is really worth the time, the money, the $20 to $40 billion to get a man to the moon. Have you ever had any doubts about the importance of getting to the moon?
Well, I think all of us have to consider these things very thoroughly. Certainly Congress does, because they're right in the middle of the budget hearings now, of course. I don't think we can pinpoint the worth of this, really. I know that the race aspects have received at least their due credit. I think, though, that basically this is an exploration, and I don't think we know, really, until the exploration is completed whether it's going to be completely worthwhile or not. I certainly think it will be, but I don't think we can really pinpoint every answer until we complete the exploration.
Colonel, I'd like to get your own personal opinion on this. You've risked your life and you've devoted your energy and your time in this race to get to the moon. Are you yourself convinced beyond question that it's worth doing, and why?
Well, yes, I am, or I wouldn't be in the position I'm in. I do think it will prove to be worthwhile in the future. Now, as far as trying to pinpoint exact specific benefits that we'll reap from this right now, once again, I think it's an exploration. I think those things are still in the future. We're involved in a lot of research to find out whether it is worthwhile. I certainly think it is.
Colonel, you were once quoted as saying, and these were your words, "This could help my kids too. I want them to be better off than I was as a young man." Now, if your fondest expectations were realized and we did get to the moon, what benefits do you think we may bring to help future generations? Have you any idea on that?
Well, I think once again, I can't pinpoint exact things. All I can do is fall back on something like the Lewis and Clark expedition heading for the West Coast. How did they know what they were going to run into? They ran into things such as the Yellowstone phenomena, which are still mainly curiosities. On the other hand, they ran into such things as the salmon runs of the Columbia River, which have developed whole new industries in that area. I don't think that I can, in fact, I know I can't even begin to pinpoint what we may run into or what may prove of most benefit, but I think man's participation in this guarantees one thing. If we can see things, perceive them, analyze them, relate them back to our experiences here, this is the main thing that man brings to the program. He can see things, new things that now are completely unforeseen or unknown. This, to me, is probably what's going to be the biggest advantage of having a man in the space program, are things that we don't even foresee right now.
Your general feeling is the very fact that there's so many unknowables makes it essential that we be in that race.
Well, that's right, and you mentioned the race now. The race is real. I'm well aware of that. However, I feel that the whole program is very worthwhile just from the exploration standpoint, regardless of the race, even if there were no such places as communist Russia, for instance.
Now, it's being pretty well accepted as a final thing that we're going to get to the moon. Are you yourself convinced that we are going to get to the moon?
Absolutely.
Now, what makes you so sure?
Well, we need no big new scientific breakthroughs to complete this, we feel. We don't need the discovery of something as large as atomic power or anything like this in order to make the moon flight. Most of the technical details are known. It's now a lot of very hard and long engineering spade work and test procedure to prove out all these details and put them all together on the lunar mission.
Colonel, one more question, if I may. There are many scientists who question the wisdom of putting the man on the moon altogether because they think we can learn everything we need from scientific instruments. Now, you had a chance to test man against instruments. What's your feeling about that?
Well, number one, on instruments, I come back again to the unforeseen. You can't design an instrument to measure something that you don't even know exists yet. This is sort of the position we're in. We could design instruments for the knowns, for the unknowns, which I think will probably be the most productive in the space race or the space age. Man has to be there to make these observations.
We'll be back with Meet the Press and more questions for our guest, astronaut John Glenn. First, this message.
Two special programs make this Sunday on NBC important. First,
do not ask their names or seek to see their faces. It is only the deed that counts tonight.
American Landmark, Lexington Concord, at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time. The hours which touched off the American Revolution, narrated by Frederick March, bringing the events vividly to life as they happened, where they happened, so that you relive the most dramatic hours in our history. And later Sunday, on the show of the week, Prisoner at Large, at 10, 9 Central Time. Close-up of a man on parole. With on-the-scene impact, NBC cameras capture the real-life drama of a lawbreaker, not behind bars, yet not really free, as the hope of freedom and the shadow of prison both shape his thoughts. Prisoner at Large on the show of the week, and earlier, American Landmark, Lexington Concord. Two significant specials, Sunday on NBC.
Most wheeling buckets can be used for nearly anything, but not this one. Its shape prevents misuse, assures its presence in case of fire. It's one of over 100 wheeling products that include round tubs, square tubs, cement pails, sap pails, oval pails, twin pails, refuse baskets, utility baskets, sprinkling cans, mop buckets. And here's a great new idea. New wheeling color steel cans that come in popular decorator colors, yet have all the strength and dependability of steel. New wheeling color steel cans are strong, can't crack in cold weather, have a special coating to resist corrosion. And wheeling color steel cans are remarkably low in cost, yet long on service. Yes, Wheeling Corrugating Company does offer America's most complete line of products like these. It offers America's finest line, too. Look for this red label next time you shop.
Now resuming our interview, our guest today is astronaut John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth. You've just met Lawrence E. Spivak, permanent member of the Meet the Press panel. Our other reporters today are Bonnie Angelo of Newsday, William Baggs of the Miami News, and Peter Hackett of NBC News. We'll continue the questions now with Miss Angelo.
Colonel Glenn, Project Mercury has consistently run far behind schedule, and Project Gemini is already months behind. How, then, can we expect Apollo, which is a much more complex undertaking, to meet the deadline set by President Kennedy?
Well, these deadlines are something that are always difficult to pinpoint. It depends on what schedule you set in the first place, I guess, as to whether you figure we're behind schedule or not. The goal we've used all through Project Mercury that Dr. Gilruth has insisted on everyone using are to set what he feels are realistic goals at a given point of time. Now, we fully realize that testing and new engineering development work, problems that we run into with all types of equipment and so on, may well mean that we have to set those deadlines back. But if we put in a great big unnecessary pad at the first, we're pretty sure we wouldn't meet our deadlines. But if you just take a realistic schedule, and if you find you have to set it back, then you set it back. That's the way we've gone. This has led to some discussion, I know, in the news media in particular, where they like, if possible, to have everything go right on a deadline. But research and development projects like this just aren't compatible with going on a tight time schedule where you can go on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, period. We run into problems, and we have to solve them before we can go on, and we have slips, and that's it.
Many scientists have said that the political pressures on the moon program are demanding a speed that's contributing to recklessness. In planning for the safety of the astronauts, does Project Apollo have any rescue procedures that could help the astronauts if something happened, something went wrong, and they could not get off the moon or could not rejoin the mothership in orbit?
No, not as far as completely separate rescue vehicles go or anything like that, if that's what you're referring to. We do have safety precautions, though, on all the major systems. We have backup systems or alternate procedures, manual procedures to back up automatic equipment, things like this that are very, very thoroughly studied and looked into. Redundancy in particular systems is what we rely on mainly. Now, if you're referring to something like if we had a crash landing on the moon in the lunar excursion module, would we have something ready to go up immediately and retrieve those people? No, we would not. But we hope that we can have enough redundant systems so that we don't have a crash landing on the moon to begin with.
But if something unforeseen happened, wouldn't this be a terrible setback to the nation's prestige?
Well, I don't know. I think we can all expect sometime to have a failure in space. We've been fortunate so far, of course, and not only fortunate, it's been the result of a lot of very careful and very close attention that I think we've had the successes that we have had. As in flying airplanes, sometime we're going to have a fatality. We feel that the whole program is worthwhile. If we have a setback like that, of course, it'll be regrettable, but we hope that this doesn't cause everyone to lose support for the program.
Mr. Baggs.
Colonel Glenn, this may be like asking Andrew Jackson what he thought of the remarks of his hot and insistent critic, John Quincy Adams, but I'd like to anyway. Oceanographers, marine biologists, have complained that the billions of dollars we're spending to send a man across the meadows of space is unwise when, in fact, we're not spending anything like this to explore this old green earth we live on, and we have learned not too much about this planet. Do you think that they have a good argument?
Well, this thing of what we spend on what programs is something that gets planned at a considerably elevated spot above my level in the program, obviously. I don't really weigh this program against every other program that we try to spend money on. I think this has to be weighed very carefully, of course. I don't feel that we are neglecting these other areas. People have compared our program to, and what we'll accomplish, say, to what might be accomplished spending comparable amounts on medicine or some other inquiry or research. I certainly don't question we need research in these other areas at all. But as to national goals and purposes and what we spend on what at a given time, this is for someone else to decide, not me.
Well, the marine biologist argues that if indeed research is to make our lives easier and more comfortable tomorrow, that we can perhaps learn more about putting billions in to learn how to farm out of the sea, getting fuels out of the sea, getting the unknowns that we don't know about perhaps out of the sea, which is much closer to us than the moon.
Well, I think this might be a whole separate study, of course. I would question whether our total objective in spending these monies on any project is just to make our future more easy or more comfortable, as you put it.
Well, then you think there's a military advantage to landing a man on the moon?
No, we have, well, no, don't, I erase that last. I don't mean there is no military advantage. We have no military part of our Apollo program now. I don't know what the Russians are doing in this regard, of course, because their program is secret, as we all know. I think we have known in the past that any medium in which it was possible for people to operate in eventually got used at one time or another for military purposes. I don't know what we can draw from this.
Yes.
We certainly hope that we can keep space the peaceful element it is now, where we only have the elements of space to compete with.
Mr. Hackus.
Colonel Glenn, the President has committed us, in effect, to a race with Russia to get us to the moon first. Inasmuch as we're in this position now, should Apollo perhaps be given a higher priority so that we have, for example, overtime work and weekend work to get us there quicker, to make sure that we get there first?
The race aspects of the program are certainly real. We can't ignore those. They're very important to us, the image around the world of America and the uncommitted peoples of the world, of course. I feel the whole program is worthwhile if we didn't even have the race aspects, because of what I think we probably will learn from this exploration. The priority we put on this as to whether we want to get it done in 1 year or slip it 6 months by a lesser schedule and get it done the next year, Once again, it comes back to Mr. Bagg's question here of how much you're willing to spend. Are we willing to pay double overtime work and go to, say, 7 days a week and 3 shifts around the clock? Will this cut some of the oceanography work off that he spoke of?
Personally, this is worthwhile doing, to speed it up some?
The advantage of speeding it up would be applicable only to the race aspects of it. I think we will get the information we look for from our exploration on the pace that we're going. Now, once again, this is up to someone else to decide the political angle, whether the race aspects are important enough to put extra funds or to cut back other programs so we could push this one harder.
On the House Space Committee, 2 members have suggested there be a cut of about 10% in the manned spaceflight program's request for the coming year. Congressman Teague, a Democrat, and Congressman Fulton, a Republican. Could you people live with such a cut? What effect would that have on the manned spaceflight program? 10% would be, I suppose, around $300,000, $350,000.
Well, number one, I have no idea what areas they're talking about cutting, so I don't know how it would affect our program. The last time I heard anything about this, I believe the current testimony on the proposed NASA budget had run somewhere over 3,500 pages of congressional testimony, and they estimate that it may go as much as 5,000 pages of congressional testimony. And I was told, I don't vouch for this, but I was told that this is going to be the most extensive justification of any program that's ever been presented to a congressional committee. So I think these gentlemen in the Congress are probably a lot more capable of sifting this out and seeing whether they can cut without hurting us than I am.
One further question, Colonel. The Russians have publicly announced that they're planning to send a woman soon into space as an astronaut. And it's been suggested in this country that perhaps a woman astronaut should be chosen and trained to go along on one of the Gemini flights. Would it be perhaps a good idea to get the jump on the Russians in this particular area so we'd have the first woman in space? How do you feel about that?
I might have expected this question from your cohort here instead of you. My attitude on this is, as far as women going into space, has been we just want to make each one of these flights get the most information back that we can and be the safest flight possible. So far, the women who have proposed that they be the ones to go to space have not proposed that they could do the flight or conduct the mission better than the people we have selected. It's been mainly on the idea of just going to space just to have a woman get to space first, and I think I at least am much more interested in seeing that we conduct these flights as safely as possible and if they come back with as much information as possible, more than I am with the gender of the occupant of the vehicle.
Mr. Spivak.
On that, Colonel, if we do send a woman into space, don't you think it would be better to send her alone and so there'd be no distractions in the Apollo
You said
flight?
that, I didn't.
Colonel, according to report, Gordon Cooper's flight is now set for mid-May of next month. How much chance do you think there is going to be a postponement in view of the number of postponements we've had in the past?
Well, that's like trying to forecast an emergency on a flight. It's a little difficult to tell where it might occur. The current slip is being discussed this weekend, as a matter of fact, and exact amount of time that will be necessary to fix up the problems are being determined right now, so I can't comment on whether there'll be more slippage or not. We're still hoping to get it off, of course, well within May.
So that if there is another postponement, it'd be a matter of days, weeks, not months or years.
Well, this would once again depend on what problem you ran into. If it was a minor difficulty, yes, it would be maybe just a few days. If it's some major component we found a difficulty with that has eluded us up to now, might mean major delays.
There's been varying reports about the number of orbits that Cooper is to make. I think I've seen one report of 17, one of 18, one of 22. Has a decision been made about how many orbits he is to make, at least to seek to make?
Yes, it's planned for 22 orbits is what the full mission would be. Now, there are sort of checkpoints as you go along to check on the consumables being used on the flight and the safety requirements that are left for the duration of the flight. We have some good checkpoints here at about the end of the 7th and the 17th orbit, in which good planned landing areas could be used if it was decided to bring it in earlier. But if everything goes nominally and we complete the whole thing just as scheduled and as foreseen now, it will be 22 orbits, about 34 hours.
Miss Angelo.
In order to beat the Russians to the moon, we first have to catch up with them. When do you think this might happen, and what do you expect their next space mission to be?
Well, it's a little difficult to pinpoint where we stand in a race when the opposition does everything under cloak and dagger type secrecy, where we don't know what they're doing. You don't know what you're racing against, really. We're just working on our program as hard as we can to try and get the whole thing consummated as fast as we can get there.
You don't have any idea what their next mission might be? There's supposed to be one close.
No, not at all. I have no secret information other than what I read in the newspapers.
You mentioned a moment ago the importance of the American image abroad. The Soviet cosmonauts have traveled widely and have won a great deal of goodwill for the Soviet Union. The American astronauts have made no foreign visits. Don't you think you might win some points for us if you let the other people see what an American astronaut is like?
Well, I don't know. This has been discussed on occasion, of course, and we've thought about it, of course, and I think it was decided that most of our people felt that possibly the Russian visits might have fallen a little hollow in some areas because they went out more or less just here I am type hoopla that you run into on an occasion like that. We felt that if we could keep most of our program centered to technical information, taking part in results of space flight, that we accomplished a lot more that way. Now, we haven't had occasion to go and present anything to foreign countries in this regard. Perhaps this opportunity will present itself some of these days.
And might you do it if the opportunity arises?
Well, if this was deemed advisable, yes. Of course, something like this would be tied in with what other American activities were going on in the area and how best we could serve. If it served the best interest of the country that we do this, why, certainly we would.
Mr. Baggs.
Colonel Glenn, what information could an astronaut or astronauts learn walking around the moon which could not be learned by instruments landed on the moon?
Well, I don't know that I can really answer that question. Once again, if we don't know what's up there, we don't know what observations can be made, we don't know what the structure of the moon may tell us about the Earth's early formation. We don't know what radiation belts there are or how these affect us, magnetic fields, solar radiation, cosmic ray studies that can be made from a lunar base. There are any number of things that the scientists would like to know that they feel we could probably best get from a lunar base. Now, what portions of these can be done from manned and unmanned, I don't know. That's a difficult one.
Is there a prospect of learning as much from instruments, that is an unmanned exploration, as there is a manned exploration?
No, I don't feel there is. Once again, I think that eventually the biggest advantage to having manned spaceflight eventually will be in something that in man's capability to make observations of something that we don't even foresee right now.
One more question. Like most of us, except Mr. Spivak here, the astronauts are getting close to 40, or pretty near it, or into it. Is any time limit set on, age limit on the astronauts' age going up there to the big yellow moon?
No, there's been none at all yet. I feel as long as we stay in good shape and can keep qualified, I don't see increasing age as any obstacle here.
That's cheering news.
We have about 3 minutes. Mr.
On the
Baggs.
same lines, Colonel Glenn, do you yourself expect to make another space flight, and if so, where and when?
Well, I hope so. No one is assigned beyond Gordon Cooper's next flight. Whether there'll be another Mercury flight or not will be decided after the next flight, but no one is really assigned to another flight beyond Gordon's.
There's been some talk, Colonel, that you, one of these days, might retire. If, as and when that comes, and you might give us your views on that, do you figure there's a chance you might get into politics, as has been rumored? There's been a rumor that you might even be asked to run for elective office or even vice president one of these days.
Well, that's a new thought. No one has approached me on this if they're thinking of this, and I think I'm pretty well placed right where I am right now.
Mr. Spivak.
Colonel, what do we seek to learn from Major Cooper's flight that we didn't learn from your flight or from Shiraz's flight?
Well, we have the extended periods of weightlessness, of course, which are lengthened out considerably on this flight to test, more or less test the man out. The spacecraft systems reliability. We have a number of experiments on board on light experiments, visibility of light from the ground and from other spacecraft, looking forward to the Apollo mission. It might be well to point out here that these things, rather than being specific items that the scientists want to know, we're really still in the stages in spaceflight of just working out our transportation problems, really. We don't have a great amount of scientific equipment aboard that's going to revolutionize the scientific thought in this country from the next flight or anything like that. We're working out the transportation problems of the man and the vehicle so that we can later on apply these things and really go to exploration, which is the whole objective of space flight, of course.
Is that one of the reasons that most of the astronauts are not scientists but pilots?
Well, the astronaut versus scientist as crew members thing has been in some print recently. My feeling on that is when we get to the point where our observations are no longer bringing back big amounts of new information from the moon, say, that's the point where we should go ahead and plug a scientist in, or we should get him on board, say, a year or year and a half ahead of that point. Certainly the first lunar flights, we feel, are going to require all three crewmen working full time just to ascertain that we have a good, successful mission going and make sure it gets back okay. Beyond that, getting a scientist in, fine, if he can contribute more.
Miss Angelo.
Colonel Glenn, as one who's been far out and hopes to go farther, do you think there might be life as we know it on other planets?
I see no reason why there shouldn't be. Or as Bill Dana says, only on a Saturday night, maybe.
I think I'll have to at this point. I see that our time is running out. I hate to interrupt, but I see that our time has gone. Now, thank you very much, Colonel Glenn, for being with us.
Thank you.
I'll tell you about next week's program. First, this message.
Most wheeling buckets can be used for nearly anything, but not this one. Its shape prevents misuse, assures its presence in case of fire. It's one of over 100 wheeling products that include round tubs, square tubs, cement pails, sap pails, oval pails, twin pails, refuse baskets, utility baskets, sprinkling cans, mop buckets. And here's a great new idea. New wheeling color steel cans that come in popular decorator colors, yet have all the strength and dependability of steel. New wheeling color steel cans are strong, can't crack in cold weather, have a special coating to resist corrosion. And wheeling color steel cans are remarkably low in cost, yet long on service. Yes, Wheeling Corrugating Company does offer America's most complete line of products like these. It offers America's finest line, too. Look for this red label next time you shop.
For a printed copy of today's interview, send 10 cents in coin and a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Merkel Press, 809 Channing Street, Northeast, Washington 18, D.C.
Next week, our guest on Meet the Press will be another headline figure in the news. Now, this is Ned Brooks saying goodbye for Colonel John Glenn, and Meet the Press.
Join us each Sunday for News in the Making as the nation's top reporters put challenging questions to world leaders on Meet the Press, America's press conference of the air. Tonight, watch American landmark Lexington Concord, an NBC News special reviewing the events at the turning point in America's colonial history. Tune in tonight at 8:30 for American Landmark, Lexington Concord, 7:30 Central Time in color here on NBC. Now stay tuned to McKeever and the Colonel next on NBC. This is Lee Dayton speaking. Meet the Press has been a public affairs presentation of NBC News and has come to you pre-recorded from our studios in Washington, D.C.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.